Waiting to buy a home? The Churchill Mortgage team says now is a great time to buy. Waiting could be a costly mistake because when rates drop, new home buyers will flood the market, driving up home prices. Go to churchillmortgage.com for your free analysis and see how home values can outpace rates to help you build wealth over time faster. This is a paid advertisement. NMLS ID 1591. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org. Equal Housing Lender. 1749 Mallory Lane, Suite 100, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So you found the perfect home, but high mortgage rates have you second guessing. The Churchill Mortgage team says waiting to buy can be a costly mistake. Try their free 15-minute analysis to see the difference between buying now versus waiting for lower rates. Visit churchillmortgage.com to learn a smarter way to build wealth through home ownership. This is a paid advertisement. NMLS ID 1591. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org. Equal Housing Lender. 1749 Mallory Lane, Suite 100, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibis? Welcome to a little mini episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Thought it was time we kind of visit the cases that have been quiet lately and talk about a few updates that have happened. But first, music fact of the day. I was curious about this, so I went Googling, and according to VH1 and several other big music sources, the number one-hit wonder of all time is Macarena. And look, we all were doing that dance for like a year after that song came out. Don't deny it. You know you did at parties and weddings and all that jazz, but number one, come on. Look, there were a lot of good songs on that list. My favorite being Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor, which actually was written by Prince and performed by Prince. That was one of the best songs to come out of the 90s, in my opinion. On that list as well, Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum, No Rain by Blind Melon, Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot, and Ice Ice Baby, which ironically totally stole the beat from Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. There was a big lawsuit about that, and his I'll have to Google and find it on YouTube, his explanation of how it's different. It's really crazy and just, ridiculous. All right, so we're going to jump into Gabby Petito's parents. They have filed a $50 million lawsuit against the Moab Police Department for failing to properly investigate the domestic violence case and also failing to protect Gabby. If you guys remember, August 12th last year, just a little, it'll be a year and 3 days, not too long before she was murdered by Brian. Remember, she wasn't found for 3 weeks. It was into September, I believe, like the 19th, they found her body. So about a week or two before she was murdered, they were stopped in response to a 911 call, which was made where they were seen arguing at that barbecue restaurant and then sped away in the white van. It was seen driving erratically by police, crossing the double yellow line, jumping up on the curb. And in the police cam video, we see Gabby admitting to slapping Brian first, but they say the scratch on her face wasn't documented. And also, she can be heard on that body cam video saying that Brian grabbed her by the face, and she did it in a forceful way. It says, the initial report said that it was more accurately categorized as a mental health or emotional health break than a domestic assault. An independent review that happened after all this said of the stop that state law about domestic violence also would have required a report be sent to the prosecutor, which was not done because the incident was mischaracterized as disorderly conduct. It also says that no statement was taken from the initial 911 caller who saw, quote, the gentleman slapping the girl before Gabby and Brian got into the van. It says both written reports are missing significant details as it relates to the who, what, when, where, and how as it relates to this incident. So in the Petito filing for this new lawsuit, lawyers argue that had police officers involved in that stop had proper training, teaching them to conduct a thorough assessment and recognize signs of abuse, they'd know that Gabby was a victim of intimate partner violence and was in need of immediate protection. Now, one of the officers on scene, Officer Robbins, said in his report that he observed cuts on Petito's cheek and arm. But court documents say that when Gabby was asked about her fight with Laundrie, she displayed the classic hallmarks of an abused partner in trying to take the blame, saying she hit him first, and also she did not want to be separated from him. The filing says that police failed to investigate who the true primary aggressor was, which they say is Brian, and says Gabby may not have been murdered if officers had recognized this. It also says that her killing was caused by the wrongful acts or neglect of the police department and its officers. So, of course, Steve Bertolino, the attorney for the Laundries, Chris and Roberta, had to chime in because, he can't keep his mouth shut. And I have to say, I try not to be disrespectful even to defense attorneys, but I can't think of one statement that this guy has actually not just been abrasive. And, this case was huge last year, and he just keeps going with it. He said that he is stating his opinion on his own. This is not what Chris and Roberta have expressed to him. He said the Moab police report indicated they could have arrested Gabby, but chose not to, and instead separated Brian and Gabby. A full 5 days after the incident took place, Brian flew home to Florida from Salt Lake City. During the time while Brian was in Florida, Gabby was communicating with her family and others while she waited in Salt Lake City for Brian to return. The days after and events from the Moab incident to the date of Gabby's death appear to be far enough removed from the reasonable actions of the officers on the scene. I see no legal liability, but maybe the city of Moab will settle the matter. Get this. He says, so best of luck to the Petito family in their quest to recover for their loss from another source. That was such a dig at the civil suit. I think that is currently the judge just ruled recently that can go forward. All right. So Wagner trial, it's coming up, y'all. Supposed to happen at the end of this month. Jury selection may prevent that from going off on time. So it's been over 6 years, as you know. The first of the Wagners is headed to trial. George IV, the brother. We all know that Jake and Angela both pled guilty. Jake's got an automatic life sentence. Angela gets, I believe it was 30 years in prison for her role. They dropped those murder charges against her. The trial's expected to last 30 days. I'll believe it when I see it. It's got to be double that. At least I'll cover that testimony daily on episodes where we'll go through and pick out the best parts of testimony. I will say this. There are over 300 witnesses that are going to testify. And if you've listened to us long enough, you know I stink at math. But I can't think of 8 hours a day over 30 days. How many minutes? Okay, one of you guys out there is like a math whiz and I know it. Okay, do the math for me. If we have 30 days, 8 hours a day, how many minutes would each witness testify if you have, let's just say 320? I don't know an exact number. Let me know in a comment. I'm curious. Jury selection began yesterday. They sent out 1,000 summons. Only about 40% of those responded. I thought you'd get in trouble for not responding, but they've narrowed down that pool to 230 potential jurors. They're screening them individually since this is a death penalty case. So ultimately, they need 40 to 60 death penalty qualified jurors. And as of yesterday, they have 2. Not sure about today. After those 40 and 60 have been selected, they'll come in for group questioning. And then each side, the prosecution and the defense, gets 6 strikes. In other words, I don't like that juror, they're gone. Judge Randy Deering told potential jurors that any personal or religious objection to the death penalty is not grounds for a dismissal necessarily. Remember, Jake has asked for death to be taken off the table, and it appears that will happen as long as Jake testifies to the prosecution's liking. He has to he has to honor his agreement of what he's going to testify to. It's going to be really super interesting to watch all this body language. I know for me, it's such a mind-blowing case of what happened, and considering that it took 2 years for arrests in this case, there's that side of me. I just want to know how they did it. How did they do this? It's man, it's a huge case. Actually, the largest in Ohio history, I believe, just on a criminal investigation side. It's been reported that almost every single potential juror has some kind of connection to this case. One juror said her brother was really close friends with Kiely Rodni and wasn't sure if she could look at the crime scene photos. That juror was dismissed. Another potential juror said it would be difficult to not use their outside knowledge of the case, of what they know so far when serving on that jury. Another went to school with 3 of the Rodin victims, and one woman had worked on the social services cases that involved the minor Rodin children who survived that shooting. Remember, the judge did not grant a change of venue request, and I don't know how smart that was, to be honest. This judge, I like him. He seems very fair, but that right there has had me scratching my head since he ruled on it. It's a really small town, and I just feel like with a death penalty case, I mean, I would want to minimize any chance of a successful appeal down the road, but I'm not a judge. They will see 14 potential jurors a day, with eventually a jury of 12 with 4 alternates that will be seated. Now, we know George IV says he did not kill any of the 8 victims. We know that Jake admitted to 5. We do not know which 5. That will probably come out in trial. So if George IV didn't kill the other 3, I'm guessing that falls on Billy's hands. He's scheduled for trial at some point. I don't know if there's a date set for that, though. So I saw the jury questionnaire that was sent out to potential jurors, and it's really in-depth and nosy. And I don't know if this is normally how it goes. I've never gotten a jury summons. But anyway, so let's go through some of the questions they were asking on this jury questionnaire. They want to know employment history, education history. Have you or anyone you know been the victim of a crime? Do you know someone who has died or been injured as a result of a crime? Have you ever owned or shot a gun? Have you or anyone you know been shot at or had a gun pointed at them? They want to know all about potential jurors, kids, stepkids, grandkids, their gender, their age, their occupation, their place of employment. They want to know the same thing about your parents and your siblings. They want to know if any of the potential jurors are part of any kind of crime prevention groups. Have you ever hired a lawyer, and was your experience good or bad with that? Do you favor or oppose strong gun restrictions in the U.S.? Have you ever visited or been inside a jail or prison? They also want to know your religious affiliation, if any, what charities you donate to, your main source of news, what news channel you prefer to get your news from. Have you studied any psychiatry or psychology? Have you or someone you know been treated by one? I think that's a little bit too far. I mean, maybe that's a common thing. I don't know. It seems private to me. You won't go tell them that your mom, saw that. It's a very private thing. It says, have you heard anything about this case before today, between news, social media, your circle of friends? If yes, how much? Also, have you heard or read what anyone has said about this case regarding an opinion on who killed the Rodins and Hannah Gilley? Do you know any of the victims or defendants? They want to know their views on the death penalty, also their feelings about how death is administered in Ohio. They want to know your spouse or partner's views on the death penalty. And also, would anyone criticize or be disappointed in you if you voted for or against death? So at this pace, man, they're going to be lucky to seat 12 and then 4, I think. This is a really small area from what I understand. So we will keep an eye on it. I'm going to see daily what comes from the courtroom. So we're going to jump over to Murdaugh real quick. Man, we know that he's been charged in the murders of Maggie and Paul, his wife and son. His attorneys have asked for a continuance in the civil suit that was filed by Mallory Beach's parents. As you know, she was the girl that was on the boat and was later found dead after Paul drunkenly crashed that boat at a high rate of speed. That civil suit is expected to begin on October 3rd, and his attorneys say that his murder trial is anticipated to begin in January of next year. It is going to be a very busy January for Pretty Lies. We got Lori and Chad, and we also now possibly have Alec Murdaugh. His lawyers say if the civil suit is allowed to continue, it will substantially affect Murdaugh's right to a fair trial and due process in the murder trial. This is a little bit older from last week, but the judge denied that request for the gag order, which was actually requested by both sides. And they wanted all the documents sealed. Judge Clifton Newman, who I have to say I love, he seems super fair. He said it's commendable that the parties have expressed a desire to have this case tried in the courtroom and not in the media. The existing rules require them to do so. The public is entitled to know how justice is being administered. Alternative measures must therefore be considered prior to preemptively issuing the order sought. And we're kind of going through this now in Vallow Daybell. The good Lori Hellis, has filed a motion to intervene. She wants things unsealed, saying the public has a right to know. Super interested to watch that. In fact, I need to tweet out and Facebook out. She was on with Scott Reich today talking about this very thing, her motions. So anyways, really quick about Letecia Stauch, Gannon Stauch's stepmother. She's accused of murdering him. On August the 4th, the court received the mental health evaluation report for her. She is ordered to appear in person for the hearing on August 25th at 1:30 Mountain Standard Time. Doubt that will be streamed. It seems like Colorado doesn't allow streaming of anything. Morphew, her, just, they don't allow it, it seems. She initially pled guilty, changed that to not guilty by the reason of insanity later on. So lastly, today, there is a missing 16-year-old out of California. She was reported missing from Truckee, California this past Saturday after not returning home from a end of high school party at Prosser Family Campground in Truckee. Kiely had actually graduated 2 years early. Her car, a 2013 Honda CR-V that's silver, you can see it on YouTube here in the picture, has not been located. And according to people that were at the party, it grew way larger than intended after word got out. You know how those things go. Her mom said that Kiely texted her to say she was leaving around 12:15 to come home. She actually texted her mom around 11:30 to say she was leaving at 12:15. So her mom told her to wake her up and let her know when she got home. And she was never heard from again. She also said that because nobody has said that they saw her leave, they really can't say for sure what's happened. So a spokesperson for the sheriff's office did say at 12:15 a.m. she communicated that she wanted to go home with friends. And after that, her phone went off around 12:30 a.m. and according to the spokesperson, became virtually untraceable shortly after. Her best friend said that the party just got way out of hand. And within 10 minutes of this friend arriving, not the missing girl, she said she had a group of 5 guys trying to get her to take as many bong rips as she could forcefully without her boyfriend present. She also said there were a lot of guys that approached them over the course of the evening. And she said, quote, definitely I was getting a gut feeling that during that party that something just didn't feel right with the number of people that were there. And also how old some of those people were. It was said that there were some college kids in attendance also. Another friend of hers said that she was having a fun time at the party, just being a teenager. She said everything she drank, I drank out of, and there was nothing that seemed off about her. Her friend also said that Kiely was planning to spend the night at the campground. So you kind of got like 2 different versions there, or 3. Mom saying she's coming home around 12:15. Another friend said she was going to stay in the campground. And then you have this girl, or she was going home with friends. And then this girl is saying that she was going to spend the night at the campground. She said, at the point when I left, I thought she was going to stay there. Everybody was camping and it was late enough that she should have stayed. She's not the type to go drive drunk or anything. She also said, I know that she wasn't in the right mindset or state to drive. And if she were to have driven, she probably would not have made it far. So the friend said her concern is that somebody might have offered to drive her home and then did not take her home. She acknowledges that Kiely drank enough to be drunk. And she said, for the amount of drinks we both had together, she's not that dumb. I remember we were partying together. She was having fun. She seemed really happy. She was normal, just on an adrenaline rush and saying hi to everybody. So right now, over 16 agencies are involved in searching for her, including the California Highway Patrol, the FBI, and Homeland Security. As of today, they've had over 100 calls come in the tip line, with none of those leads leading them any closer to finding Kiely. So the tip line number is 530-581-6320. Callers can remain anonymous. There is a $50,000 reward being offered for information that leads to her safe return. And also, they're asking anybody who was at that party that night, if you have cell phone pictures or videos, to please let them know. And they maybe can see if that leads them closer. I know they have some dive teams in some water areas close to there. So, man, it's just very, just not a lot known, it seems. It's just like she's vanished. At one point, they said they were treating it as an abduction only because her car was not found yet. But also, they did say today in the presser that they were not going to issue an Amber Alert. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. And if I hear anything, I will let you guys know. In the meantime, I'll be back tomorrow with another full episode of the Valo Daybell Mega Series. Seems like you guys are enjoying that. And just a big hello to all of our new listeners. We've gained a lot of listeners just in the last couple of weeks. Just want to say a big welcome to you. It's about to gear up here. Big trial starting hopefully at the end of this month. Now I find out 2 big trials in January and everything in between. So, all right, guys, we will see you tomorrow. Hope you have a good rest of your night.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing to keep the Grinch away from the toy drive.
Who's going to deliver the toys to the kids?
What about me, the Grinch?
No.
Yep, even easier than that.
You steal the presents one time.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Copyright Dr. Seuss Enterprises. Copyright Turner Entertainment Company.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.